Picture this: a vast hall, lights dimming, and the sound of a heartbeat drumming. Then she steps out, a figure at once human and divine, exuding both warmth and awe. That figure is Beyoncé. She's mother, mogul, icon, artist, walking the world in stilettos, in sweatpants, on stage, in her living room, singing to her child. And in doing so, she offers a vivid story of what modern womanhood can look like. In this piece, I want us to wander together through her journey, how she taps into the myths of the goddess, how she plays with performance, how she crafts a self that's equal parts human story and mythic narrative. We'll bring in ideas from Simone de Beauvoir, from Carl Jung, and some feminist aesthetics, all without getting buried in academic jargon. Because this is as much about feeling as it is about thinking. The ordinary girl, the superwoman. Beyoncé's journey starts in the familiar, a young woman from Houston, Texas, joining her girl band, showing up to rehearsals, dreaming big. But something else was happening beside the ordinary narrative. She was already crafting the extraordinary self, at once relatable and aspirational. That duality is key. She's the woman in the kitchen and the woman commanding the boardroom. She's the mother, the daughter, the boss. In doing so, she embodies what Jung might call the goddess archetype, not as a distant deity, but as a presence in ordinary life. Carl Jung argued that archetypes are universal, recurring symbols or patterns in the collective unconscious. They live inside us, even if we don't name them. The goddess, then, is an archetype of female power, of creation, of transformation. Beyoncé taps into that energy, but she doesn't park in the clouds. She brings that goddess energy into the realm of the everyday. She says, "Yes, I have flaws, I've cried, I've risen, and I still carry a crown." Gender as performance, à la de Beauvoir. When Simone de Beauvoir wrote The Second Sex, she floated a radical idea. Often we think gender is something innate or essential, but perhaps we should see it as performance. Being a woman or a man is not just who you are, but something you do in relation to society. Beyoncé knows this. She uses stage, style, imagery, movement. Everything becomes part of her performance of womanhood and power. She isn't hiding behind the role. She's inviting us to watch the role, question it, remix it. Take her track Flawless, the opening daring beat, the sample of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's TED Talk. We educate girls, but teach them to shrink themselves. The lyric, I woke up like this. We flawless. Ladies tell 'em. She's performing empowerment, but she also anchors it in real life. Insecurities, awakenings, survival. By performing femininity, power, vulnerability, she's saying, what if the performance itself is the path toward freedom? By doing the role on her terms, she reclaims it. That's liberating. Myth-making. The modern goddess. When Beyoncé steps on stage, the lighting changes, the music swells. There's history behind her, culture beneath her feet, a lineage lifting her. She becomes more than a singer. She becomes myth. Think of the Greek myths, goddesses who embodied creation, destruction, transformation. Beyoncé maps that onto her life. She becomes the mother goddess, having children, nurturing, yet commanding. She becomes the creator, crafting entire visual albums like Lemonade, marrying art, politics, identity. She becomes the figure of power, leading tours, business ventures, cultural conversations. Empowerment by construction, feminist aesthetics. One of the things that moves me most about Beyoncé is how she shows that empowerment is made, not just born. She builds it, layer by layer, the career decisions, the motherhood decisions, the collaborations, the visuals, the speeches, the manipulations of perception. This idea fits squarely within feminist aesthetics of self-construction. She is not waiting to be saved. She is sculpting her own narrative. She uses her body, her voice, her art as materials. She says, "This is me." And she says, "This is you too." She also brings intersectionality into the mix. Her identity as a Black woman, her wealth, her fame, her mother-daughter relationships, these all complicate the picture. Sometimes critics push back. Some say her feminism is too commercial. but others say she has broken down barriers, introduced mainstream feminism to people who might not have engaged with it otherwise. Through her self-construction, she shows that power doesn't come only from rejection of femininity or rejection of womanhood. Sometimes it comes from fully accepting the complexity of being a woman in today's world, strong and soft, public and private, sacred and human. The performance of the personal. What I find most compelling is when Beyoncé lets the personal in, when she talks about motherhood, about marriage, about grief, about heritage. That is where the myth meets the real. There is a dance between myth and everyday life. And through it, she reminds us, the goddess matters not because she is perfect, but because she is vulnerable and brave. She messes up. She rises. She loves. She fights. She transforms. In doing so, she encourages us to see ourselves as both mythic and mortal. We can hold a crown and we can spill coffee on our shirt. We can command millions and tuck in our child. That tension is beautiful, bringing it back home, her gift to us. So what is Beyoncé offering us in practical terms? 3 big takeaways. A. Embrace the paradox. She shows us that being a woman, being powerful, being vulnerable are not mutually exclusive. The goddess within you does not mean you leave humanity behind. B. Performance is agency. When you dress for yourself, when you decide your narrative, when you step up and speak out, you're participating in your story. You're not only the act, you are the author. C. Identity is layered. We're not one thing. We're all the things we live. Mother, friend, creator, daughter, boss. Beyoncé holds them all. We can too. A little story. Let me tell a quick story. I was watching a live performance of Beyoncé where the stage split, lights rising. The audience roared. You could feel the electricity. At the same time, she paused, looked into the crowd and said something like, "I'm one of you." And for a second, the goddess stepped down, sat on the edge of the stage, cuffed the mic, leaned in. That moment flickers for me because it collapses the distance. It says, you're not only watching the myth, you are part of it. Critics, contradictions, and complexity. Of course, it isn't all golden. There are critiques. Some say Beyoncé's feminism is packaged, commodified, that her hyper-glamour is still within the rules of male gaze or consumerism. And yes, those critiques are important. But the beauty here is the dialogue. Beyoncé invites both admiration and critique. She offers herself not as flawless, but as flawed and striving. That invitation is, itself, empowering. She says, question me, question yourself, grow. Why this myth matters now? In a time when social media makes it easy to see only polished surfaces, Beyoncé's myth-making offers a richer mirror. She shows that power is messy, that motherhood and mogulhood can coexist, that feminism can be personal and pop. In the age of performance, her story reminds us that performance can be truth. When you perform your values, your presence, your voice, on your terms, you reshape what it means to be seen. And through this, she rewrites the story of the modern goddess. Not distant, aloof, unreachable, but real, present, relatable, powerful. We don't just watch her, we walk with her. Conclusion. So yes, Beyoncé is a myth, but she's a myth we can touch. She's the woman who rises, falls, stands tall. Her story holds up a mirror to our possibilities. If you look closely, you'll see beyond the stage lights. You'll see the human behind the goddess and the goddess within the human. That's the swelling power of her art, to reflect us, challenge us, invite us. And if you choose, you can step into your own myth. You can script the roles, the performances, the contradictions, and you can still be you. If you enjoyed this piece, if it sparked new thoughts about power, identity, performance, or if you just love Beyoncé too, subscribe to keep walking through stories like this with me. Let's keep the conversation going.